Everybody act tough when they up.
It's the Boris Dirk podcast. I am very pumped to be coming to you today with my co-host, Drew Semler, as always, and a special guest today, Bryce Simon from, you may know him from the Game Theory Pod with Sam Vecini, also hosts a Pistons podcast called The Pistons Pulse. He's Motor City Hoops on Twitter, one of the sort of preeminent draft and NBA voices out there, so it's a real pleasure and honor to have him on. And we're ready to talk through some sort of young guys in the league. But Bryce, how you doing?
What's up, guys, man? Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here. Sam and I did a rookie episode, whatever, the other night, but I'm excited to talk rookies again and maybe some sophomores as well. So thank you guys so much for reaching out, for honestly, for working with my time schedule here as well. I know I told you I could do something and then I had to crunch down the time so I can do something with my son tonight. But I just thank you guys so much for having me here. I'm excited to talk some hoops.
Of course.
Yeah, when that rookie episode you did with Sam came out, I think Max sent me a screenshot of his inbox. I was like, oh, damn it. This is literally what we have him on for. Max, tee us off.
Yeah, so the premise for today's episode, kind of early in the season, is just taking a look at which rookies and second year guys have just kind of been the most fun for all of us to watch. It's not necessarily like a talent draft that we're doing as far as like rest of careers. Cooper Flagg would probably go first in that draft. I haven't had a ton of fun watching the Dallas Mavericks this year.
It's funny. I had a panic attack today. Like, man, what if I'm that idiot guest that doesn't understand the premise of the draft we're doing? And the person I'm going to take first is not the guy who I think has been the best rookie or is going to be the best in the rookie class, but I come on and just completely miss the whole point of what we're doing. So I'm glad I got confirmation there, Max, that I have the right idea of what we're drafting here.
Yeah, still bullish on Cooper Flagg long term, but the Mavs are a tough watch right now, so he's not necessarily going to go first in this draft. So yeah, we're grouping all the rookies and sophomores together because there have been some pretty intriguing sophomore leaps that we're going to get into as well. But yeah, we'll just go around and each sort of name our favorite guys to watch so far this year, see how far we get. But Bryce, since sounds like you have someone in mind for the first pick, I'll leave it to you if you want to go first.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Cedric Coward. And, you know, Drew, you mentioned the episode with Sam Vecini. We got into Coward quite a bit. And obviously he's shooting the heck out of the basketball right now at 40%. But he has real NBA size for a wing. The shooting looks legit. I said on that episode, he has a very simplistic game. And I don't say that in a negative connotation, just like, you know what you're going to get. He's a straight line driver. He's physical. We'll see what the defense ends up being overall. But one of the comps I threw out there, and I don't think it's perfect because I think this guy is bigger. We talked about that, but I threw out OG Anunoby and just kind of like an archetypal, like, I think I just made up a word there on your guys' pod. Just an idea of what he could be and what he could provide a team. So I want to throw it back at you two. As you were listening to that, did you guys go, oh, what an idiot. I can't believe we're bringing this guy on our podcast tomorrow. Or did you kind of see the vision for an OG type of player?
I don't know that Coward is ever going to be as rangy, just effectively as OG. Like there's just a special quality to OG's athleticism with that strength. And I went to a Knicks game last year and saw his calves in person for the first time ever. It's just like, he actually looks like he could be a bodybuilder if he like really leaned into that and didn't need to maintain basketball leanness. But I think of Coward more as like a fundamentally offensive guy. And I think that's why OG didn't come to mind as much as like, what if Mikal Bridges on the Suns is like thicker and has like a little more finishing juice, which is like also an incredible player and not that far off from an OG archetype. But I hate that you took him one because I swear I would have taken Cedric with my first pick in this draft. As a Blazers fan, we were absolutely heartbroken because I was like, if he falls to 11, this is a dream come true for us. They pick him, I lose my shit. Then I find out a minute later they're trading him, and then the Hansen Young pick happens. It was just a crazy draft night for Blazers fans.
Yeah.
So to see Coward going to work this early, this efficient right away, and also just how massive he looks against NBA athletes, because Max and I both loved Reed Shepherd, and we've been talking the last year about how weird it is that he looks so much less athletic on an NBA floor than he did in the SEC. Coward's like the opposite of that. Like he looks bigger. He looks even more explosive than I thought he was, and has like those J-Dub dimensions. He's never going to be a J-Dub player because, to your point, he's just a little bit less versatile offensively, and that's fine. But yeah, man, he's going to be really good, and it makes the Bane trade look like such a win for them early.
Real quick, Max, I think that's why I went to OG, and Sam brought up some good points. You bring up some good points. He's not going to have the same size as OG, but I think it's because every time I see OG, and I've never seen OG in person, but I'm like, he is so massive. And I've become a really big OG fan over the last 18 months, his two-way impact on that Knicks team. And I think that's why I think of him when I see Coward, is because what you just said. I didn't expect him to stand out, his size to stand out the way it does when he steps on an NBA floor. And so I think that's kind of the idea of why that's who I thought of. He has a long ways to go to even become close what OG on the defensive end as well.
Yeah, love the Coward pick. Drew and I were both very high on him in the draft last year. I had him like back end of the top 10. Drew, I think you might have even had him as high as 5.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I ended with him at 5. So
good for you, man.
Thanks,
nice.
Blazers.
But yeah, Drew, the moment he was referencing from draft night actually went semi-viral from our draft live stream of Drew just freaking out over the Blazers trading Cedric Coward. Chris Vernon played it on his show and now is called Drew the sad Portland guy.
Hey, who needs Cedric Coward whenever you have Tumani Kamara, though, right? It's going to be okay, Drew.
Yeah, you know what? Now I'm just imagining how great things could have been.
I mean, a wing room of Cedric, Denny, and Tumani would be really, really fun.
Yeah.
You can attract some really good players to that.
I'm gonna take the second pick in this draft. I am gonna take VJ Edgecombe, who it's low hanging fruit. He's like textbook electrifying prospect. He's probably overdue, or he's due for like a break the internet type poster dunk at some point in his rookie season. But he's adjusted to the NBA sort of speed and physicality so much faster than I expected him to. And it looks like his shooting progression and his handle progression that he started to show towards the back half of his freshman season at Baylor has really carried over into the NBA, where he's shooting 39% from 3 on like a high volume of attempts per game. And suddenly, but the combination of him and Tyrese Maxey has turned this Philadelphia team that last year was one of the more like depressing watches in the NBA into one of the most fun teams to watch this year, with the pace they play with, the like speed of Maxey combined with like the explosiveness and vertical pop of VJ. I sort of saw him as like a high ceiling guy coming out of the class. And there was some difference of opinion where some people saw him more as like a high floor, but the shooting and handle would kind of limit him from being that high of a ceiling guy. But of all the rookies, he's the one who's really flashing like star potential the most from this early slate of games. So I've been just locked in every time I get to see him play, because he's been super fun.
Yeah, he's been incredible. And I don't mean to regurgitate everything we talked about over on Game Theory, but one thing I did bring up was the context that he's in Philly, and you brought it up with Tyrese Maxey. I think it's important to note, though, that the role he's in fits him very well. And guys, Tyrese Maxey has been absolutely incredible. I don't know that it's going overlooked, guys, but because VJ's getting an attention, and because Joel and what he's doing or is not doing gets attention and all of that, I don't know if everybody realizes that Maxey's putting up insane numbers right now. But VJ gets out in transition. The jumper has looked good, especially the unguarded catch and shoot threes. I still have some concerns about how long it takes him to get the shot off and the long dip and wind up. And when he really starts to get hard closeouts, is that going to be an issue? Is he ever going to be a guy that can knock down shots off crazy movement? Is he going to be a guy that can knock down shots off at a high percentage whenever there's highly contested? But I think what's really impressed me was what he's doing with the ball in his hands. He's not asked to do it a lot, but in the reps he does get, he's playing with nuance and ball screens. He's gelling defenders. He's snaking defenders. He's doing all of those really interesting things. So I've loved that from VJ. He's been very disruptive defensively. I think for me, you mentioned ceiling. The ceiling to me is how good can he be defensively? And I think that determines the ceiling of this backcourt together, guys, because he has to be able to really defend at the point of attack and take those matchups at a high level for him to and Maxey to work together at the highest level possible. So that's one thing I'll watch for is his point of attack defense, not just his defensive disruption.
Yeah. I've been shocked by how effortless getting downhill is for VJ in the NBA early on, because I agree with you. I thought he was going to kind of make his waves early as a defender. And I felt like VJ in the NBA might look more like Cason Wallace than maybe the sort of like offensive scoring two that some of his flashy, electric, athletic finishes had people imagining. Because I just wasn't sure some of the ways he was scoring in college were going to work at the NBA. And I didn't think his handle was as sophisticated as maybe, it could get down the road. And he just looks like a way more elastic, confident driver against NBA athletes, which is super impressive. And also, like you said, credit to the fact that Maxey is also like an absolute nightmare that other teams have to worry about. It's not like he had a lead guard at Baylor who is that insanely talented and distracting for defenses. But yeah, I'm interested to see if the shooting holds, because there's still, it's easy for me to see a world where they have to mix in Jared McCain again, because he's also a key part of that offense, and maybe Edgecombe doesn't get quite as much usage and the shot stops falling. He's more off ball. I'm not ready to say this is just who he is and he's this much of a stud, but the flashes are amazing. And I already feel like I might have underestimated the offensive sophistication.
Yeah, I think he's further along offensively than what most people thought here early in the season, in a really good role. Again, I just want to continue with the defense. I think he's been disruptive. I'm interested to see how good the point of attack stuff can get.
For sure. Real quick on Maxey, in the minutes I've watched him this season, and he's always been a really good shooter, but the level to which, like, no one's ever had the combination of elite speed and elite shooting that he has. No one's ever been able to shoot as well as him at that speed, or whatever the combination is. I don't know if anyone's ever, or people have had that speed, but he's one of the probably 3 fastest players with the ball in his hands in the NBA. And then you add on to that he's one of the probably top 5 to 10 shooters off the dribble in the NBA. And just in general, like, it's a crazy
and his
combination.
touch and the touch he maintains moving at top speed is nuts.
Yeah. So looking just at like synergy numbers to back all of this up, obviously he's shooting ridiculous from 3 right now, but he's 47% on catch and shoot, 50% on unguarded. He's 50% on dribble threes. To your point on the touch, he's 54% on runners. I mean, the speed combined with the shot making, he's able to do it off movement. He can do it off the catch. He's incredible right now. He is just playing. We've seen Tyrese Maxey at an elite level of basketball, right? Including in the playoffs. But here to start the season, I don't know that we've ever seen him play better. And I mean, I haven't gone through the whole thing. I would assume he's playing at an all NBA level right now. If we were trying to hash through it today. So he's been awesome. And that's got to be exciting for Philly fans when your 2 highest paid players, one we haven't seen yet, and the other one is 20 minutes a night,
Yeah, exactly. All right, Drew, pick 3.
Give me Alex Sarr. I mean, we got to give the sophomores a little bit of credit here. I think probably like a median Alex Sarr supporter coming into his draft. I think he was like 4th on my final board, and he went 2 overall. So I thought it was a little bit of a reach. But if some of this scoring stuff is real, it's just a fact that like he's on a path to like an Evan Mobley, like one of those super talented big like type trajectories where you like actually wonder how sick a 2-way 4/5 this guy can be long term. And it's just unbelievable, more than anything, that he's shooting 70% at the rim. And I thought like his finishing ability might be a real limiter. And just year 1 to year 2, he's been an offensive force. And just like the bag has deepened in a crazy way from one year to the next. I'm really interested to see if it's legit, because I like so much that's going on in Washington with some of their young guys. And I thought that he was probably like the only pick in their young core that I really disagreed with. And he looks like he might end up being like their blue chip asset if some of this is real, along with another guy we're definitely going to mention today.
Love it. No, I mean, 31 points a couple different times here early in the season. I would say he's been a little bit up and down, right? There's a couple 10-point games mixed in there. I did a breakdown over one of those 30-point games over on the Game Theory Substack. And listen, I was the Alex Sarr guy in that draft. The first time I started doing my prep work for that draft in the spring before the season even started, I fell in love with him. I'm like, why are we not talking about this kid more? He is like flashing things that I feel like the NBA is looking for in the modern big. The problem was it's continued to be flashes, right? And not consistent. What I will say about this season is it feels like those flashes are even better. Like the ceiling of what he has done with some of those big time games is even better. Like when you look at his 3-point shooting though, between a couple of those games, the two 30-point games, he is 7 of 12 from 3 in those games. And then the rest of the year, he's, what would that be? 3 of 10. So, like we'll see how that goes. What you said about the finishing, the 2-point scoring is what I think is huge because that was a huge limiter for him last season. And right now being 56% overall from 2-point, I think that's an important number to talk about here because he's got to be able to do those things, little short roll floaters. He was 45% on 2-pointers last season. Do the big guy things, catch some lobs, grab some offensive rebounds. I also think one of the things with him was like defensive rebounding. And I feel like he's been better in that capacity as well. Those numbers are up in right about the same minutes as his rookie year, as his rebounding numbers overall. And then we haven't even really talked about it. You mentioned Evan Mobley as kind of like the comp. He obviously isn't that level of defender. Evan Mobley's DPOY, but the off-ball ability to go and block shots and cover ground and all of that is there with Sarr as well.
Yeah, 4th in the league in blocks for Sarr, both in total and per game. He's just kind of taken a step forward in every facet of the game. Like you mentioned, the rebounds that went from about 6 to 8, I think. The 3-point shooting has gone up, although you meant that we'll see if that holds up. Shot blocking, scoring inside. He was on my list as someone I wanted to make sure we talked about today. And I also started thinking about how the 2028 France front court of Sarr and Wemby is just going to be an absolute nightmare for teams to score on in FIBA rules.
Do they have a point guard, Max, or it's maybe one of you guys are going to be running the show? I don't know what position you guys play. Real quick on the 3-point stuff.
What happened to Nolan Traore? He was supposed to be the guy.
He was going to be the guy. Guys, his 3-point attempt, similar to his fellow Frenchman Victor, who's, that's been talked about a lot with him, is down. The percentage is way up, but he's down under 3-point attempts per game. The 2-pointers have skyrocketed. And I think that there's just a level of like aggression and forcefulness that comes along with that. So he's off to a really good start here. This Wizards team will be interesting to track throughout the year. And, do they have enough vets and how can those vets play and all of that? And quite honestly, to track some of the other young guys there as well. But Alex Sarr off to a really good start.
Yeah, and I do want to track with them because I think they have like they're second to last or last in defensive rating, which I know they have a lot of young guys, but if Sarr is kind of going to go on that Evan Mobley type trajectory on defense, I would ideally like to see that number go up a little bit, even though I know the defensive talent on the rest of the roster isn't phenomenal with the exception of like a couple guys. But that's just the one thing that kind of stuck out as like the shot blocks are high, but I do need to dive in a little bit more to is the overall defensive impact sort of on that level.
Okay, so I want real quick, and I know we got to go to the next guy. I am interested to see, like, does he end up being able to be like a 5, or do we end up in the same Evan Mobley type question?
Yeah.
Because he's still got to, he has to be able to anchor better. He still needs to add that practical, functional play strength that I think Mobley has really developed over the last couple of years. Obviously, Chet has. Is he going to be able to be a 5 that anchors your defense, or does he have to settle in as a 4, which may be okay because we've seen the NBA start to trickle more and more into these double bigs and play as much size as possible. And so maybe it ends up not mattering. I think for me right now, he is more impactful as an off the ball defender as opposed to like defending all of the primary actions type of defender.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It looks like he's gotten a lot stronger though already. Like,
sure.
He looks like the body is maturing and he has a frame that I think really will add weight over time. but we'll see. It's cool to see him thinking of himself as a potential star on offense. As ridiculous as that might sound, like I watched a bunch of his interviews before his draft and thought like he just sounds like such a self-aware, maybe overly humble like role player in the NBA because he just wants to do the right things and contribute to winning. But like, does he think that he's just gonna like take over games occasionally and score 30 points? And I didn't see it. And now I see a guy who is like aggressively trying to score constantly, and the offensive effort has just been extremely high. So yeah, that's really cool for Washington.
Yeah. All right, Bryce, back to you for another pick.
We're going to stay in the sophomore class, and a guy I really want to get your guys' thoughts on and hear your opinion is Stephon Castle, because he's had a really fun start to the year. Obviously, that Spurs team is on everybody's radar. But while there are a lot of positives, there's also some glaring questions with his game, including and starting with the turnovers, where he's averaging 5 per game right now. A game I watched recently against the Suns, he just starts off the game with 2 really bad decisions. One, instead of just throwing a simple lob to Wembanyama, he doesn't. Then the next possession, he touches the paint, but he challenges 2 guys at the rim instead of kicking it out to the perimeter. So like, that's not even a turnover. That's just a missed shot that doesn't show up in the same way. But then he's also, again, he's touching the paint. He's getting the free throw line 8 times a game. He's scoring almost 20 points, shooting well from inside the 3-point line, but the 3-point jumper is still a little bit of questionable. The free throw percentage shows up there as well. And then I think he's incredible defensively. Like, I do wonder, as we get into this thing, are we going to talk about 2 potential all defensive guys in San Antonio? We all know Wemby is going to have that conversation for DPOY, but is Castle going to get attention for, hey, is this actually one of the, is he one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA? He is so strong. He's so disruptive. He doesn't back down from anybody. He's physical navigating screens. And I just think he's really, really good defending. And he can like verticality contest, so he can like protect the rim off the ball as a low man with that size, strength, and athleticism. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about Castle.
I'll let you go, Drew, since you are the Steph Castle guy on this pod.
Yeah. So you were a Sarr guy at the top. I was a Castle guy at the top. I don't have much to add to what you said. I think that was a beautiful ode to Stephon Castle's game. I think there's just like a maturity and an old soul hooperness to his game, where I just feel like he's gonna age as like maybe the Drew Holiday with even a little more scoring juice of this generation. Like he is. And also to address the turnover thing, like it's been bad. He's averaging 5 turnovers a game. Like sometimes it's just those surface level stats tell a story, and a lot of them have been awful turnovers. But that's not really his track record for a rookie with a lot of usage last year, especially at the end of the year. Like his turnovers weren't that horrible, but he also has adjusted to like having the ball in his hands way more than he did in college, which was, I know, like. He was way more of an off-ball guy there who had like defense first duties. So this is kind of a new life for him, and really initiating offense, learning how to play with a roster that's changed a lot this year. I just don't believe the turnovers are going to be a long-term problem for him. I think he's too smart. His IQ, the way he plays with pace, and is always moving at the speed he wants to be moving at. I just believe he's going to clean that part up.
I've tracked him since high school. And the funny thing about him was the first time I watched him in high school and talked to some people, it was like, is he going to commit to playing defense? And so that's when he got to UConn, and the role he ended up at UConn was so impressive because it was so much off the ball. And I do think that's a really positive thing for San Antonio, because De'Aaron Fox is going to have the ball. Dylan Harper is going to have the ball. Victor's going to, you're going to run actions through him. Steph Castle being able to cut and move and offensive rebound is going to be a major value add. I don't think that the turnovers I don't think he's a 5 turnover per game type of player. It's just something to watch and track. But I think De'Aaron Fox is supposed to be back. And then, I don't know, at time of recording. I don't know if it's tonight or sometime soon or the next couple of days. So obviously some of that load is going to come off. And then they have to figure out, okay, how does spacing stuff work with Steph off the ball if he can't hit shots at a high enough level or teams don't guard him or whatever?
Yeah, between me and Drew, I was definitely lower on Castle coming out because of the shooting and primarily, and that I wasn't sure kind of what position he was either between like sort of being a lead guard or not. I think the turnovers sort of and what I've watched in him and sort of lead guard reps make me to think he's a little bit more of kind of a secondary ball handler than a primary. But I'm consistently like once a game when I watch him, he makes some sort of athletic play, which is just insane. Like he's not an Amen Thompson level athlete, but he's kind of like that notch right below that. And I think they have a lot of sort of similarities both in their strengths and in sort of the challenges of building around the two of them as well, where, you know, it makes it so that Dylan Harper's going to have to come around as a shooter for that sort of backcourt, I think, to really work long term. But Castle's definitely been sort of above expectations for me from what I saw from him coming out, and I'm excited to see how it looks once sort of they have their lead guards back and he can go back to like a almost supercharged Josh Hart kind of role off the ball.
Yeah, but he has the ability to play off 2 feet in the paint and like the slow step nuance to his game already at 21 that usually you only see in like stars of the league. You know, like there's just like there's a confidence he has in the lane and a ballet to his like finishing game where I think that he's going to be better than Josh Hart's ever been on offense.
Yeah.
I would just say like his size makes it okay for him not to have to be a primary initiator as well. Mm-hmm. Like he's big enough and strong enough to take a bunch. He's going to be so versatile defensively. I think to me, it's always been about the shots, and it was really concerning coming in, or out of UConn or whatever. Like we'll see. But he's going to be a very good player. Obviously, we'll just see what the ceiling is based on where that comes around to.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about someone who I'm starting to think some dangerous things about their ceiling. And that is Kyshawn George, another Washington Wizard. As a Knick fan, I sort of had like a somewhat similar moment to Drew with Cedric Coward of the draft night trade. At least Kyshawn George, the draft night photo is of him in a Knicks hat before they traded him in some convoluted trade back. But coming out of school, he was sort of an intriguing, like 6'7", 6'8", playmaker for his size, like bombs away shooter. But I had a lot of questions about his defense and just sort of how he would handle the overall physicality of the NBA. He's turned what I thought was his greatest weakness in defense into possibly his greatest strength, where the other night I saw over the course of a few minutes, he shut down a Brunson possession, an OG possession, and a Karl Anthony Towns possession. And there's probably not 10 guys in the league who could credibly guard all three of those guys in the span of a game. And yeah, he's still young, so there's lapses here and there, but the shot has translated in a big way. The playmaking's there. He's basically a 18-5-5 at this point. So for someone who came out as like a playmaking forward who I thought would be a good shooter, and for that to have translated and for the defense to have translated, it starts to make me think maybe this guy isn't like a high level role player. Maybe he does actually have some kind of star upside to him if all this continues coming around. So between him and Sarr, those have been the two guys on Washington that have made them a fun watch for me.
Kyshawn is averaging a steal and a block per game. Right now, there's quite a few players, 17 players in the NBA doing that. But if you just go look at the names, that's pretty good company to be in. Funny enough, one of those players is actually his teammate, Bilal Coulibaly. I think one of my biggest takeaways coming out of Summer League, which it's hard to have too many takeaways coming out of Summer League. But by the way, do you guys go to Summer League?
No. Next year.
Okay. All right. So we'll have to definitely connect. That's like the one trip I always make. So we'll have to make sure and connect. Max, nice. You need to make it out as well.
Yes.
And we'll say what's up. But was the defense, like how we looked defensively at Summer League, I think that's carried over into the regular season. The skill level was always there. I was looking at my pre-draft notes as you were talking, and just like the ultimate multi-skilled wing, fits the current NBA, positional size, complement the all-around offensive skill, ability to knock down shots, but to put the ball on the deck. Then defensively, in all uppercase, I said could offer a team a ton of upside with the versatility of matchups he can take and or overall switchability. The thing is, as you mentioned, Max, we're starting to see that from him on the defensive end. So it's not just what he's doing offensively, which is impressive in its own right. 53% from the field, 50% from three. He rebounds the ball, but also the defensive impact while being solid, but also being disruptive.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, he grew a few inches late. And I think that's also a factor here. He is another one of these late growth spurt guys who is learning that he can actually be a high power forward at the NBA level, even though he was probably 6'5" a few years ago. Another interesting thing, I always watch AJ Mitchell and Kyshawn George and remind myself that even though they have like American sounding names, AJ Mitchell's Belgian and Kyshawn is Swiss. And both of them, both guys that we could have mentioned today, and obviously we've got one of them now down, have like this Euro flair to their game. And there's just this extra finesse, this extra artistry, the way they manipulate their drives and change pace and keep defenders off balance. And I just have a question for you, Bryce, as someone who's like been in the basketball world his whole life, like why are these European guys just a little bit sexier with the ball in their hands?
It is funny that going back to his college film, he was aesthetically pleasing to watch. Like he truly was. AJ's the same way, but Kyshawn especially. I remember the first time I watched him, like I think it's the way they move. Like I think he's a fluid mover, even though he's not necessarily like super athletic or whatever. So I think it's often talked about, and we could go super deep into this because I have 3 young kids right now. I'm coaching
games
my
versus
son.
Practices.
Yes. Like, listen, my son is a 5th grader. I could care less if we go and play. We do because that's what our rec says to do. All I want to do is practice with those kids. We need to learn how to pivot better. We need to learn how to throw better passes. We got to learn how to shell defense. We got to learn how to make layups, all of these things. I could care less if we go and play games. And I'm in the minority, I think, at this point in the United States. Like people in where I live look at me like I'm crazy because I'm not trying to put my kid on all-star teams and traveling teams and all of that. And I'm just like, he doesn't need to right now. Like, I don't even know if he's going to be good enough. Like, is he even going to be athletic enough to be a good basketball, football, baseball player? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Let's wait until he gets old. So I do wonder, Drew, if it's something to do with that. Just like the way that what they prioritize in development in other countries compared to what we prioritize in America in terms of what we call development.
But hey, you know what? Cedric Coward has such an aesthetically pleasing, smooth, efficient game. He was not on that AAU circuit, that commercialized scene.
Yeah.
Like he was probably working on skills more than your average young prospect in America.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think it's just like when it happens organically is I think whenever you get those kind of aesthetically pleasing movements. And so you got me on my soapbox.
No,
here,
just
Drew.
go.
It's like, even just kids being kids, like running around, jumping, on the playground and doing whatever. Like, we're very blessed where I live. We just let our kids run on the block and they're making up their own games and the random, street football games and street basketball games and street soccer games. I think that's where they learn to be athletic and that's where they learn spatial awareness and all of those things. It's not in the gym with a trainer where everything is like, dribble to there, plant your foot, take this step, go to that cone, spin there. You know what I mean? It's just like, it just happens naturally, those movements, or from seeing people and then you trying to figure it out. Like, that's what I did. I never had a trainer in my entire life. I would see somebody do something and I'd go to the gym and try it. Now, my favorite player is Allen Iverson, so I watched him do a lot of moves. I went to the gym and tried it, realized I couldn't do it, and then, then I'd turn on a Duke game and watch JJ Redick and I could do some of those things. But Anyway, you guys got me down a rabbit hole. That's your fault, Drew. That's on you.
All right. Well, Bryce, I know you have to leave in like a couple minutes. So I don't know, Drew, do you want to just quickly shout?
No. Let Drew do one more. I'm okay.
No.
I got a few minutes.
Let's just say some names.
Okay.
Stop me if one of these names really moves you.
Okay.
Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Awesome. He's been so good this year, guys. Like he's been really, I don't know what he ends up being defensively, but he protects the rim. He finishes everything, sets good screens. I was not high on him coming into the draft. He's been incredible so far.
I famously said on the pod, I had him top 20. I said, are we sure this guy shouldn't be above Malawach on everyone's board? But, and I can't cash that check right now because there's a lot of basketball to be played. But Derek Queen.
I've kind of only seen a quarter.
What's it called? Incomplete. Need more information. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to plant a flag. Even an early season flag, I'm not ready yet.
Mm-hmm. The guy I'd still take over VJ, Con Knipple.
He's been really good. He's been really you talk about things translating that we saw pre-draft, the shot making, he's holding up defensively. He does all the little things. They use him in creative ways. Charlotte crushed the draft.
Yeah. Love Sion James too. I don't know if you're going to mention him.
Colin Murray Boyles, number 6 on my board.
I watched a Raptors game today because I hadn't seen him play yet. And I still was like, I don't know yet.
He doesn't look as powerful. He's one of those guys like on an NBA floor. I'm like,
he looks small.
He's going to have to be a Draymond like genius to really hit the ceiling that I was dreaming of because he doesn't have the athletic advantages he had in college.
Yeah. It's also like maybe the worst context he could have been drafted into, I feel like, for his particular strengths and weaknesses, particularly his weaknesses.
Who else is out there? Oh, just for the Blazers people out here. Klingon, how are you feeling? I love him.
Yeah, he really defends. I want to continue to watch the finishing. I don't know what the numbers say this year. I feel like sometimes I'm hard on bigs. So it's like, you should finish every single shot right there at the rim. And like, that's just not practical. So he's up at 66%, not on a ton of volume.
I agree with you, though. He seems clumsy sometimes. Yes. Eye test is like, he just is a little bit wild and out of control. And I'm like, just don't bring the ball down. Just use your God-given abilities, your size.
I remember
his game could be so simple.
I remember when I watched him at UConn, I kept getting frustrated that he wasn't dunking and he was doing all these like little jump hooks like a foot away from the basket. And I was like, just dunk it. You're 7'2".
Yeah. More Doo-Wop Reith minutes in Portland. That's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
Great Barrier Reith. Last but not least, do you have hope for Scoot Henderson?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we need to see him this year, right?
I can't believe we're here. I just really in my head was penciling him in as the next like De'Aaron Fox level lead guard in the NBA, which might not even be what some people who loved him in the draft would have wanted, but like I would have signed up for that. And that's a great
Derrick Rose.
Yeah. So like what do you think has gone wrong for Scoot his first few years compared to what, was expected of him?
Yeah, I mean, he just hasn't scored the ball efficiently. Right. And the thing with Scoot was like the mid-range jumper, I was just like so sold on. And then I thought that would translate to being good. I felt like eventually that would translate into like the 3-point jumper. But for, example, last season, he was 37% on 2-point dribble jumpers. I thought he was going to be elite as a mid-range pull-up guy. You know what I mean? He was good on runners. But then the other thing is at the rim. He gets to the rim at a really high rate still, but with his athleticism and what it looked like he was, listen, I'll give Rafael Barlow a shout out. I remember him talking about kind of the rim finishing numbers in the G League and that they worried him, and it has seemed to translate a little bit. Now, we'll see if it ends up, we'll see what happens now, but this is kind of the year for Scoot though, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that we can not see growth and then still hold on to the same level of hope. I probably already brought down my expectations a little bit, but I still think he'd be a very good lead guard, and the other thing is he could be part of this defensive identity that I think Portland could really have with Denny, with Tumani. with Donovan. So like that's what excites me about him is he should be able to hold up defensively extremely well also at his size.
Yeah, he's not quite as athletically special, I think, as a lot of us thought he was going to look at the NBA level.
I would agree with that.
And so after a couple of years of watching Scoot, I thought, okay, he needs to stop looking as much at like the John Wall, De'Aaron Fox model and maybe more of like a Chris Paul model. Like, to your point, be defensively really tough, use your strength despite your height disadvantage. And then on offense, like live in the mid range, know how to put people in jail and be like maybe a true pass first point guard, which there's always room for if you're special enough, like the Chris Pauls and the Halliburtons.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he'll snake screens and like get to that elbow jumper. It doesn't go in as often as it needs to go in.
Max, that when I first watched him, I was like a 17-year-old with the Ignite. That's what I liked about everybody else was raving about his athleticism. I was like, no, what I like is this dude like understands the nuances of ball screen. He's snaking into stuff. He's making passing reads. I want to throw out a few names real quick. You mentioned AJ Mitchell and then we just kind of blew past it. Has been incredible for the Thunder. Tristan da Silva in Orlando, like, has been very
good. Guy.
Very good offensively, knocking down shots. And then I'll tell you another guy, Jalen Tyson in Cleveland is another guy that I'm fascinated to see what happens when that team gets healthy, because he's been very good defensively all year. His offense is rounding into shape now as he's knocking down shots. He plays hard as heck, plays with an attitude.
He's a beast.
I really want to see, guys, what happens when he gets moved to the bench, because it's one thing when you're starting and you're playing with, Donovan and Mobley and Allen. I don't think they're going to keep starting him when Strus gets back.
Yeah.
Where does he end up in the rotation, and can he have this same level of impact in less minutes and a very different role?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned all three of those guys, and we were big fans of all three on this pod. And honestly, going into the 2024 draft, there was so much uncertainty. At a certain point, I was just like, give me the guys I know are going to be good role players. So like I had Tristan da Silva and Jalen Tyson in my top 10. I had, who was the other one you mentioned? Oh, AJ Mitchell I had in the top 20. Like all of them, I was like, I just know these guys are going to be good. Like they don't have too many holes in their game. They're smart. And Tyson, I mean, probably worked to his credit that he had so much experience in college in different roles. Like he was a 3-and-D guy in one place, then he was in Cal. He was sort of running the whole team. So
he was like the point guard. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So all of them are just super heady, super just solid. Tyson, very solid just across the board, like handles, playmaking, rebounding. He'll really get up there like for some blocks too. Like he's a nasty defender. And da Silva, we've been big fans on the pod just because he's so intelligent. I look at him as like kind of maybe a Batum in the future. I just really like the way all three of those guys play. And Mitchell, we've talked about before on the pod, but the fact that the best team in the league added the 6th man of the year front runner is just insane.
Yeah, he's been incredible.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for joining us and for going a little over time with us too. We really appreciate it. Love everything you brought to the pod today. And yeah, it was super awesome and an honor having you on. So really thank you so much.
No, thank you guys. I had a blast. I wish we would have had more time, but I appreciate you working me into the schedule and keeping it a little bit condensed. So thank you. Thank you for having me. And anytime you need me back, I would love to join.
Amazing.
Thank you, sir.
Forrest Dirk.